Okay, hello everybody. Good afternoon. It's an honor to be able to share a few moments with you Americans here. And it's always a joy to speak with Americans, because I find that with Americans they're more active and energetic in discussions than the British. But it's always a pleasure to be in America, and especially to be witness Multicultural Day here. But when I saw the people flocking in, I was very surprised with the good music and the good food out there, why they should come here, why you should attend here. That was before I was given this sheet. And on number 6, it says, were you required to attend the presentation? i.e., were you forced to come? So maybe, I think most of you, let me apply here. Prophet Jesus, peace be upon him, and Lady Mary, peace be upon her, are held with very high esteem in Islam. They have features, both of them, which are unique to them and no other prophet. Prophet Jesus was the last of prophets in the line of Isaac, because Abraham, Isaac and Ishmael, all prophets emanated from either one of them. Muslims believe that Prophet Muhammad was the last of prophets in the line of Ishmael, whilst Jesus was the last of the prophets in the line of Isaac. So they're cousins, so to speak. Lady Mary, she has also a lot of qualities which are specific to her. In the Quran, she's regarded as a model and example for all peoples, male and female. And that will be highlighted why later on, inshallah. She's the only lady who's been mentioned by name in the Quran. And not only once, but 34 times. I'm not sure even if the Bible has mentioned her by name that many times. This highlights the importance. Also, one of the chapters is attributed to her. It's called the chapter Mary. It's the 19th chapter of the Quran. These are just introductory remarks before we slowly enter the discussion, because the discussion can get difficult. It's a Gnostic analysis of certain things. So I thought just to start off with a few basic information, just in case if no one understands anything throughout the whole lecture, at least you can understand the basic things. Whenever Jesus is mentioned in the Holy Quran, it's always Jesus, son of Mary. Never Jesus alone. It always says Jesus, son of Mary, Jesus, son of Mary, Jesus, son of Mary. With Abraham, it said Abraham. Moses. With Muhammad, Muhammad. But when it comes to Jesus, it always says Jesus, son of Mary. As if these two are one reality. In chapter 21, verse 91, we assigned her, referring to Mary, and her son as one sign for all peoples. You see? These two are one. It's one reality, different manifestations of the same reality. Jesus wasn't procreated. We also believe that. There was no father actively, directly involved. That's why we say he was created. It's the difference between creation, like with Adam and Eve, and Jesus, peace be upon them all, and procreation, like all of us. We were procreated. There was a mother, father, but not them. They were creation. In creation, with procreation, with us too, we may or not be better or worse than our parents. That depends on a number of 1,001 different parameters. But with creation, since there's no interference of man involved in creation, here the succeeding and evolving copy is usually, according to some mystics, of a higher significance or rank. And that's why they regard in Islam Jesus as being of a higher rank. And then some Gnostics go one step forward and say Eve is of a higher rank than Adam, because Adam was first. Eve was created too, not procreated, But Eve was the evolving, succeeding copy. She was the succeeding divine copy. And that's another debate in itself, but that's, some do regard her of a higher status than Adam. Okay, now what is that reality? It's one reality, but it's different manifestations to it. Mary and Jesus. Well, according to the logic of verses of the Quran and Islamic traditions, there's no difference between God and Jesus, except for the fact that Jesus was a creature, a creation, and a worshipper. Otherwise, Jesus' words is God's words. Jesus' actions is God's actions. Jesus' satisfaction is God's satisfaction. And the same applies to Mary. So these are just a few points I wanted to start off with. Okay, now, we can speak for hours and there are many things, but I decided to focus on two scenarios. One is in relation to the Immaculate Birth and what preceded it, and then an ethical analysis into actions attributed to Prophet Jesus and how similar they are. We have the same as Muslims. There's no difference in the ethical realm, almost. Usually, in the realm of law, there are differences between religions. In the realm of ethics, those differences suddenly become almost zero. And then in the realm of mysticism, it is zero, according to some. They're all saying the same thing. Okay, the Immaculate Birth. Now, this was a miracle too, but we have to define what a miracle is. Miracles in Islam, and most probably Christianity, never exit the laws of science. Okay, the substantiated laws of science. Science also changes from time to time. The only difference is in science, things happen naturally from A to B to C to D to Z. Whereas with miracles, the same steps have to occur, but they occur instantaneously through Allah, through God's will. Otherwise, it has to go through the processes, the scientific processes there. That's what I mean by a miracle. Okay. Now, in chapter 19, from verses 17 onwards, I'll just go through the story a bit. So, Lady Mary secluded herself from the people. Now that seclusion doesn't have to be a physical seclusion alone. You can be with the people and socialize, and at the same time seclude yourself. And that I'll come to in a minute. So she secluded. فَأَرْسَلْنَا إِلَيْهَا رُوحَنَا. Then we sent our spirit to her. The spirit being Archangel Gabriel. This story is in the Bible, and actually there are no differences here in the story. فَتَمَثَّلَ لَهَا بَشَرًا سَوِيًّا. Archangel Gabriel appeared before her as a well-proportioned human being. Archangel Gabriel is an angel. Here we have to discuss, although it requires another discussion, what an angel is. Was it just, God deciding one day, now I will create physical entities with wings and everything, or was it much deeper than that? If they're immaterial existences, what does number of angels mean? With immateriality, number has no meaning. Immateriality can't be seen, immaterial existence. But then here, Mary saw a man. What form was that? These things I'll allude to, inshallah, slowly, during this discussion. فَتَمَثَّلَ لَهُ بَشَرًا سَوِيًّا. So, Archangel Gabriel appeared before her as a man. So now this is a vision, an apparition that Mary, peace be upon her, is seeing. She's seeing a vision of a man. قالت إني أعوذ بالرحمن منك إن كنت تقيا. Then Mary, peace be upon her, said, very I seek protection from you. What you want to do to the Almighty, to the all-merciful God, should you be God-weary. She was scared of it, because Mary was untouched. She was chaste to the very end. She was Virgin Mary until the very end. Suddenly she saw a man. She was a bit scared. Then the vision spoke out, Archangel Gabriel. قال إنما أنا رسول ربك لأهب لك غلاما زكيا. I'm a messenger sent from your Lord to you to grant you a pure son. Now, this vision, she saw the man. It wasn't wholly, with a W, immaterial. There was no physical thing she saw, but it had physical properties like color, size, and so on and so forth. They call this an apparition, a vision. She saw this vision, and she didn't see it with the physical eyes either. If me and you were with her, she would have seen the vision, but we wouldn't have. That's what apparitions are. To understand apparitions, think of it like dreams. Okay, in dreams, when we dream, you're sleeping and you're dreaming of something, that thing has no matter, but it's something which exists. It's semi-immaterial. There's no physical matter, but there's color, size. You even eat. You drink. You fight. You do all kinds of things in your dreams. So even in our dreams we have apparitions, but we're asleep though. Now when we are seeing those things in our dreams, our partner in bed, she's not seeing any of that. Only we're seeing it. Now with Mary, peace be upon her, due to that very high state of spirituality, she can see those dreams, those visions and apparitions, according to the explicit verse of the Quran, whilst awake. Because she's secluded. As I said, seclusion doesn't mean going into a room and not speaking with anyone. It means whilst you're with the people, you're detached from the worldly life. I'll explain all this will fall into place hopefully soon. She was detached from the worldly life. The reason we have dreams also is because once we're asleep, we're detached from the worldly life. That's what makes us ascend in our sleep and see those things. Everyone dreams, whether they recall it or not. When the physical body is asleep, the spirit ascends different realms of existences. So it ascends from the physical to the semi-immaterial to the totally immaterial. Actually, in Islam, dreams is confined to that totally immaterial realm, not to the semi. I'll explain what that means now. What happens is we ascend on sleeping. Why do we ascend? Because we're detached from the worldly life. That makes us able and gives us the ability to ascend to different realms of existences. Once we enter the immaterial, totally immaterial, where there's not even, there's no matter, but there's not even physical properties like color, size, shape, there all of us hunt and extract divine abstract data. All of us. It happens every night. That totally immaterial abstract data is converted by the soul into pictures, and then one enters the semi-immaterial realm. There now that data which was wholly immaterial is converted into these pictures, and that's what we see in our dreams. The purer the soul, the more accurate that those data will be. But with us, since we're usually drowned in the world life, sins, this, that and the other, that abstract data is converted, but it's so messed up we can't benefit from the message that we should be able to benefit from from those mixed up pictures. So this is open to everyone here. So now here the definition of angels becomes very interesting now. She had a vision and she saw it. It was the semi-immaterial realm of existence, like in our dreams, but she was awake. She saw the angel as a man. It was Archangel Gabriel who manifested as a man. Her vision was in unity with her. That man was a product of Mary's soul. In the same way that your dreams, you are the maker of your dreams. Your dreams are a product of you. Your apparitions are a product of your soul. You're in unity with your dreams. No one else is seeing them. This Archangel Gabriel, whose original existence was wholly immaterial, manifested as a semi-material existent, and that as a man. Okay. So here, this, as I said, the story exists both in the Bible and the Quran. But now, after what she saw, she became pregnant. Here now differences arise amongst the Muslims. I'm not sure, I'm not that knowledgeable in relation to Christianity, whether they give or speculate on different positions on how she became pregnant. But the Muslim Gnostics, the mystics, they have given some theories. But these are theories. In this talk, I never say this is 100% fact. I don't want you to take it that way. These are just things I'm giving, which people have related to. It may be, it may not be. As long as, it's on a par with rational principles, it's acceptable. Here, I've chosen one theory to share with you in relation to how she became pregnant with Jesus, peace be upon him. So she had a vision. She saw this vision, and it was a vision of a man. This vision, as I said, is exactly the same as what we see in our dreams. But with her, she was awake, and the vision was accurate. It was something on a par with reality, whereas our dreams usually, not with everyone, but it's messed up. You can't really extract anything firm from it. Now, some say that seeing that vision and knowing that to become pregnant, her ovum has to fuse with a sperm, they bring this idea of a psychosomatic reaction occurring, which led to the production from that vision, which is the mind, a realm, a dimension of the mind, a psychosomatic mind over body reality arose, and from that, physical external sperm was created within her, and then it fused with the egg. That's what this one theory says. Now I'm just adding this, bringing a medical dimension, just adding it here. That, because it wasn't a case of human cloning, because a clone of Mary would be female. So we can't explain that through human cloning, but maybe with this, the technology in stem cells and everything, one source of stem cells are bones. Stem cells can be converted to any other cell, anything, including sperm, even in females. That psychosomatic response may have involved a conversion from that stem cell to a sperm, and then the sperm fusing with the egg. As I say, it's all scientific processes, but instead of going from A to B to C to D, the natural way, it was a miracle. It occurred instantaneously. But it had to go through some scientific process. Otherwise, miracles outside science are not acceptable. For it makes no sense to say, I put myself inside an egg. Then someone says, well, what if it's a miracle? Can't you put yourself inside an egg? Well, you can't, because it's impossible. It's rationally impossible. So miracles have no meaning there. Makes no sense. It's not a miracle. It has to be on a par with principles. And then she gave birth. Now, in some traditions, we have it that the pregnancy took 9 hours. But I mean, these are traditions. They may be right, they may be wrong. They're not that authentic. Nowhere in the Quran has the pregnancy been elaborated, especially the gestation. But this was something special. The creation of Jesus was, very divinely manifested. And maybe that's why Muslims believe that Jesus exists today in the flesh. We also believe that. In the flesh, he never died. That is one very common perspective amongst Muslims. And he is benefiting all people of all worlds. But he is not yet to be identified. But he will identify himself with the Advent. Yes, we have that also. Okay. Let me just see if I've missed anything out there. Okay. That was the mystical side. Then we come to the ethical aspects of Prophet Jesus, peace be upon him. And here we see the similarities are very, very alike between Islam and Christians. And if this should be really used, these noble ethical traits have to be used as a platform in dialogue between Muslims and Christians. Now these are some passages I've took from the Holy Bible. One is Matthew 5:38 to 42, and the second passage is Luke 6:27 to 31. Where Jesus says, "You have heard that it was said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But I tell you, do not resist an evil person." The law, the letter of the law, may give some instructions that we have to abide by in all religions. Maybe it is your right, if someone does damage to your teeth, you do damage to their teeth. It's a right, it's a minimal right though. You as a human being have to ascend this, you forgive. Just because the letter of the law says so, your potential is much more. The letter of the law is when you can't solve issues. Society has to be based on laws. Then we return to the letter of the law to have the final say. Now here he says, "You have heard that it was said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, but I tell you, do not resist an evil person. If someone strikes you on the right cheek, turn to him to the other also." We also accept that. Whenever you see the potential is there, that you can bring someone closer to God, of course you turn your cheek. Yes, especially in one-to-one relationships. Governments can't do that easily because they have to go by what the people want them. They've given them the mandate to govern. But in one-to-one relationships, you go all the way. You want to be a divine figure. You want to be a manifestation of God for the people. These things aren't just stories, fables, or legends. These are realities for us to attain to. When we read of Jesus, Mary, and so on, we can all acquire this capacity. The potential is there. One Muslim mystic in one of his books, he says that in the Bible, it's an Arabic book, but he says in the Bible, there's a statement which reads, "Your external side is to perish, but your inner side," this is God saying this, "your external side is to perish, but your inner side is me." Our potential is very high. We can ascend to very high levels. If someone strikes you on the right cheek, turn to him, the other also. If someone wants to sue you and take your tunic, let him have your cloak as well. Don't be dependent on your clothing. Don't see anything as yours, it's all God's. Don't be dependent on the worldly life. I'll come to that in a minute later. If someone forces you to go 1 mile, go with them 2 miles. Break the ego. Give to the one who asks you, and do not turn away from the one who wants to borrow from you. Okay, if you give and then they never return it, forgive them. But next time they come back, you don't have to give, maybe. I mean, you can't let people ruin you or make you fall into these financial difficulties that you can't come out of. You have to, this has to be taken within reason. And then in Luke, but I say unto you which hear, love your enemies. Do good to them which hate you. Love your enemies. Because we have no problem with the person. Okay, they may sin, they may oppress, they may do wrong actions to you, but you can never hate the person. This is something which all religions put forward. You may say that, well, he stole. Yes, you can hate stealing. The action, stealing is wrong. Never like stealing. But the thief, your love towards the thief shouldn't be compromised. You should always think positive. And also, you never know, you may be a thief one day. That's a kind of judging when you hate, the actual person. That's you're falling into judging people, and that's not very good because nothing is definite in relation to you yourself. Love your enemies, do good to them which hate you. Bless them that curse you, and pray for them which despitefully use you. This is what religion is all about. Practicing these codes. If a Muslim, if a Christian doesn't express these characteristics, or a Jew, or religions, if they don't express these characteristics, it's a very minimalistic religion they have. It's only the beginning. Religion is much more deep, has many esoteric dimensions. Those have to be seen. You have to be a living example from moment to moment. Okay, it requires practice. There are ways to go through it. There are protocols. No one's saying you can do this in a week. It may take years. It's okay. As long as you choose this as your route, or route, as they say here. And unto him that smiteth thee on the one cheek, offer also the other. And him that taketh away thy cloak, forbid not to take thy coat also. Give to every man that asketh of thee. And of him that taketh away thy goods, ask them not again. And as ye would that men should do to you, do ye also to them likewise. And that's the golden rule, which... See, this is the main message which really I want to put forward. Now, going back to the story of Lady Mary, I said that she secluded herself. And that was the cause of her ascension. Now, she ascended whilst awake. We do it when we're asleep, and we don't remember anything, or if we do, it's all messed up. She had those visions when she was awake. Now, this is the important practical point I would like to offer everyone here. This seclusion, as I said, doesn't mean going into a hut, confining yourself. Although the monastic way has its benefits too. In Islam, we don't reject the monastic way. That also has benefits. In Islam, it says that they offer another route. They say it's more perfect like that. You have to be with the people. At the same time as you're with the people, you seclude yourself. How? This is the important point. How can you seclude yourself whilst socializing? Going to the grocery, going to the workplace, at university, and so on and so forth. How is that possible? I'll give 3 or 4 examples, and with these 3 or 4 examples, you should be able to extract and conclude for yourself where I'm going with all this. When you go to the doctors, for example, and he gives you medication and you get cured, you have to see God as the curer, and not the doctor. Thank the doctor, observe the proper etiquette before the doctor, but you have to up here see God as the curer. If you see the doctor per se as the curer, you're forgetting God. You go to the grocery, you buy food and everything. Don't see the grocers as the source of sustenance. See God as the source of sustenance. You go and lock your car and set on the alarm. Don't see the alarm as preserving the car. See God as the all-preserving. These are just means, and you have to go through these means, but don't lose God in the picture. You pass some exams, the source of knowledge, passing all those exams, thank the teacher. You have to be polite, the order has to be there, but the cause of your knowledge is God again. Because other than God, everything is an effect, is a means. No one but God is wholly independent, existence-wise. We're all dependent on God, existence-wise. Otherwise, there's no meaning to regard ourselves as totally. That attention and that focus on God in all our actions is on a par with being secluded too. You don't have to go to a house and lock yourself up. And that leads to you being detached from the worldly life. You drive, you have a house, you have a wife, children, but you're detached from the worldly life in that you don't see them as the causes. You see God in all things that you encounter. Love your wife, love your husband, children, be loving to all, have a good car, have everything. But it shouldn't make you forget or be distanced from God, who is the cause of all causes. And that leads to that detachment. And that detachment is the cause of ascension. In our sleep, that detachment arises automatically, because we're detached from the whole, everything. We're asleep now. But with practice, they can occur whilst awake. And for some people, they do it through the religious way. They do it through the ethical way. They become detached. For some people, sometimes you see, let's say, I've seen it happen where a child was abused in his childhood. As a result of that abuse, he was detached from the world and life, and he kept on having these visions. That's possible. Because detachment from the world life leads to these visions, leads to ascension. The best way to detach, though, is the ethical way. But some people, it may be forced upon them. They have these traumatic experiences, and then they have these visions. And these people, it's very difficult for them to, for people, for the, let's say, the practitioner to explain these things, because they didn't go necessarily through the ethical way, and they were children. It's very difficult how they can understand and what they should interpret from these visions. Okay, with your permission, I think I'll stop there. I think I've almost reached the 40-minute limit too. It was once again a pleasure to share these moments with you, and if there are any questions, I'll be more than happy to explain.